In this section, I'll guide you through the procedure of mold box setup and use for a mold making project, step by step. First, you'll need to curate a large level work surface that you can get extremely messy in an area that is well lit, ventilated, and away from food goods. I like to coat surfaces with a thick brown masking paper, available at a hardware store near you, for ease of workspace demarcation and cleanup. While I'm working, I'm also usually knolling, which is a workplace setup and continuous cleaning methodology that helps ensure that you know where everything is that you need for a session on your project. If something is not in use, it should stay in arm's reach, but not in the way. So you can line it up along here. Before you start, you're going to want to gather all of the materials that you need. Measuring cups, mixing sticks, a scale if necessary, your molding agents, paper towels, a trash bin, mold release, and of course, your mold box components. You'll want to get your ducks in a row, especially if you're working with fast-acting materials. You don't want to have to run to the other side of the building to get an additive you need in the middle of a pour, for example. Organization is important. All of your materials you need should be in easy reach and where you know them to be. 1. Prepare your workspace by clearing a level surface and coating it with a disposable barrier. 2. Arrange your ingredients in the order in which you'll be accessing them. Double check that you have everything you need first. 3. Secure your mold box in place so that it's watertight. In the case of a single-size standard mold box, all sides should be secured to each other, including the bottom. You don't want a leaky box. 4. Secure your master part. You can do this with clay by filling in your mold to about 1/3 of the total height of your box and forming the parting line along the part as per your preference. You can add blocks, metal nuts, or your fingers to create registration blocks, which you'll use later to line up your mold halves. 5. Check if you need mold release for your material combination. Use according to the package instructions. If you haven't used a material before, always do a test first on a mock-up of the material your master is made of. If you do use a mold release spray, let it sit for many minutes so that the material will off-gas in your well-ventilated work area and not into your silicone mold. Each cast from a bubbly mold will have to be sanded. 6. Mix each part of your mold material individually with a dedicated mixing stick that you do not mix in the other bucket. I've illustrated that here, with pink being part A and blue being part B. Mold materials tend to settle, and you may not get the result you're looking for if it's not well mixed, so mix well. 7. Pour your materials into the individual cups. Most combination silicones need a specific ratio, so weigh is necessary. Triple check your ratios before letting the different materials touch each other. 8. Once you're sure you have the right amount of each material, in my experience, 1-to-1 ratio mixes are the most forgiving. In their separate cups, you can now mix them together in a third and separate cup, illustrated here in purple. I'd recommend against adding one cup to the other due to the surface tension of the material. You won't get the exact ratio that you would if you didn't separately add it to a new cup. 10. Use a third stick as your mixing stick, taking careful care to scrape the sides and the bottom of the cup. Mixing sticks with a broader, flatter edge are better for this than a round dowel. The closer you can get to a spatula, the better. But make sure not to use a silicone spatula, as that can disrupt the curing process of your silicone. 11. From a single low point, start pouring into your mold box to approximately 2/3 of the total box height. The physical mixing and stirring of the components will result in your worst enemy, bubbles. So creating the thinnest stream necessary will help let the bubbles release out of the stream instead of forming on your part. And lastly, due to the expert orientation of your model, all of the bubbles should rise to the top. Once you're done pouring, set the mold box aside somewhere it won't be disturbed and let the bubble rise away and the mold to cure.